2, 1.
Good morning, everyone. Let's get everybody in here. Good morning. Everybody's joining and connecting to audio and connecting cameras and things like that. We'll get started once we get everybody kind of in and settled. Welcome. Looks like we're about set. So Nick, please keep an eye on the waiting room and I will get us going here. Let me fix my computer. All right. Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome. I don't see anybody yet, but I know you're there. I'm hoping that people will turn on their cameras at some point so we can say howdy. There's Sabrina. Hi. All right. So welcome to our May SEDAC meeting 2022. Very exciting. So right now we're both live on Zoom and streaming on YouTube, and we may have some new viewers watching on YouTube at this time, so I'll give you a quick little background on what it is we're doing. So SEDAC is an advisory committee. It stands for Special Education District Advisory Committee, and it's intended to contribute parent voices and feedback to the work that the district does through collaboration among parents, school sites, district administration, helping to inform the development of practices to meet the needs of all learners, providing the community with insight into the special education process, and broadening the awareness of available resources to our families. Our site representatives, whom you see here, have a stake in sharing of information with their school communities in order to foster district-wide connectedness. So you will see some folks have the schools that they represent listed in their screen names. So as you're watching, and you can watch for your particular school, and you will know who your representative is. So thanks. Good. Looks like we have most everybody, and we'll keep an eye on the waiting room as we move on here. But right now, why doesn't everybody join us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
All right. If you guys could please stand. All right, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, Ms. Montez, do you want to give us a quick roll call?
Yes, good morning. And I will begin with Balboa.
Here.
Good morning.
Morning.
And Boina contacted me. She was not going to be able to be here. Cabrillo. Citrus Glen. And Data.
Good morning.
Good morning. And the EIC.
Good morning.
Good morning. Elmhurst.
Ashley's not here, but I am Jenna the second.
Okay, good morning. EP Foster. Foothill.
Here. Good morning.
And Balboa, I see you. I see you now. And J. Sarah.
Yes, I'm here.
Good morning.
Morning.
Juana Maria.
Yes, I'm here. Thank you.
Good morning. Lemon Grove. Pierpont.
Good morning.
Good morning. Poinsettia.
Good morning, also for Pacific High.
Good morning. Portola. Sunset. Ventura. Will Rogers.
Good morning.
Good morning. And School Board Representative Sabrina Rodriguez.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm traveling in Sacramento, so I have my camera off, but it's nice to see you all.
Morning.
No problem. Nice to see everyone. Thanks for being here. All right, so let us consider ourselves ready to go, and we will move to the first item on our agenda, which is questions submitted by the committee members. So prior to the meeting, in advance of the meeting, we sent out a survey questionnaire, and it really wasn't a questionnaire because the only question was what questions you have. So the committee reps submitted some questions that we can review at this time. So I will begin. So first question we got is, why is the district not hiring full-time one-to-one aides? Those that have one-to-one full-time take away from the lack of aides already on the campus. So the answer to that is we actually in Ventura, we have a range of paraprofessional positions, both inside and outside of special education. So it's a little bit, undefined as to what type of paraprofessionals we're talking about, but given the nature of our committee, I presume we're talking about special education paraprofessionals. And so we do hire full-time paraprofessionals, but the one-to-one aides are services like we talked about before, and they're driven by each individual student's IEP. So the amount of time throughout the day will, range accordingly. But to say that we're not hiring full-time one-to-one aides is not entirely true. Whatever vacancies we have right now, we're covering with subs. And as we've discussed throughout the course of this year across the nation, there are staffing shortages, but things have improved dramatically since January, and we're looking forward to being able to be in better shape for next year. Jenna, you have a hand. I think you have a hand. Jenna, do you have a hand?
Yeah, I do. Actually,
Okay.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
That was one of my questions. And what I was referring to more specifically is somebody such as like my child who has a one-to-one aide all day. There's no full-time employee set to him as a one-on-one aide. And I was told that there's no hiring positions for that right now. And that's what I'm wondering, because I'm not understanding why we're pulling paraprofessionals from other kids and non-one-on-one aides, because from my understanding, one-on-one aides trump like who else needs a paraprofessional in their class or whatever, because those kids need the direct one-to-one help.
Right.
And my fear is like every time somebody changes, my son's aide changes. And I feel like that's a big disconnect with him as far as, he has a speech device. We can't get anybody trained to, use his speech device. And then we change aides. And then, now he's going to be going to a new school next year for 5th grade. We're going to change aides again. Then middle school, we're going to change aides again. That was my concern, is like there really has to be a hiring process and some kind of process for somebody that requires a full day aide to move with them and be with them all year, not switching them around and changing aides all the time, all throughout the year. It just makes it very frustrating and hard for him to have the best success.
No, understood. And, I'm going to presume that the other question about full permanency is also yours. So we can address those together. So and
those are across the board. I mean, every other people have kind of the same questions from our site that I've been asked. So it's not just my kid.
Well, a couple of factors. I mean, there's, the staffing issues that we've had this year are a major factor. And, we've talked at length about those, and we know that we're not the only ones, and we're doing everything we can to overcome that. But with respect to consistency, I don't think anybody here disagrees with what you're saying. The issue, or what you're asking for, but the issue is that, first of all, there's no such thing as a permanent one-to-one, quote unquote. I mean, we've talked about this. Paras are special ed services just like anything else. And so those are revisited and reevaluated at every IEP. But we do make every effort to try to maintain as much consistency as possible. But we can never guarantee that a specific person will be able to stay with a student from kindergarten all the way to 12th grade, just by virtue of the fact that things change over time. And we've seen it. There's turnover, right? But even above and beyond that, outside of this time, people retire, they move away, they get different jobs, things like that. So, and that's why you will never see a specific person's name written into an IEP as a service provider, because, you know, it's not indentured servitude. We can't make people, you know, stay with us forever and things like that. But we do, whenever possible, we do try to maintain that consistency. Now, moving level to level, I think that there are contractual components with respect to that, because there's ways folks are assigned and things like that, and then there's seniority and all like that. But I will say that, like we talked about last time, we did a full review and audit of our para systems from top to bottom over, you know, complete over the entire structure and things like that. And, you know, that report has been generated, suggestions have been submitted to our senior leadership team. And I think there's a meeting coming up soon where we're going to sit down and review that and make plans for next year as to what we can do. Because another question in here, and I don't know if it's also yours, Jenna, but it's about, are we going to be able to do parent teacher I'm not reading the question, it's coming off the top of my head. Parent teacher para meets and, you know, discussions and get to know yous at the beginning of the year. And that's part of the discussion. Like we talked about last time, it comes down to how folks are scheduled. And we talked about also, you know, under the current structure, folks aren't always scheduled with the flexibility to be able to do that. So we're working on that part too.
Yeah, in response to your response, as far as, like, you know, lack of employment, stuff like that, people change, people retire, I understand that. In our case specifically, and a few others that have reached out, it's like on a weekly basis that the paras are changing, especially for one-on-one aides. And that's where, you know, it makes it very difficult for a child to get success when they struggle, you know, especially a lot of the kids, they struggle with the change and everything, and changing the person that's there to help them all day, every day, or every week it's detrimental.
We agree, and we're working on fixing those things.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, gosh, we knocked out like 3 questions in one shot there. Sorry. Or not sorry, I guess that's good. All right, so the family time we talked about. So who will run the SEDAC in the fall, and how will SPED run the transition of leadership? So the new director will take over the SEDAC and will determine the future activities and work with everybody on the evolving structure. As we talked about last time, the committee would like to see the SEDAC structure, purpose, intention continue to evolve to make sure that we're best meeting the needs of our community and parents. So that work, as we talked about, can look certain ways, and I made myself some notes, and, you know, that'll be reviewed and looked at over the summer, and then the new director will work with everybody to see where we go from here. So my stay as the director will end on June 30th. And then whomever is selected through the recruitment and interview process will begin the position in July. And I have offered to be available for overlap and consultation time during that transition in order to help bring the new person up to speed and, you know, make connections with our other educational partners across the district and outside the district, and, you know, facilitate those conversations and plannings. And the recruitment and interview process is currently underway. But broadly speaking, there will be an executive director and there will be a deputy director, just like there has been for the last 4 years, only they'll just look differently. They'll be different people. Sabrina, you have a hand?
Hi, Marcus. Yeah, thank you. And I apologize. I was in a noisy room, so I couldn't ask this earlier. But the question about parent and para connections during the summer was actually my question. And so I wanted to ask a little bit more about the meeting that you said is coming up, just so I understand. So who is, you know, as a board member, clearly it's not my role to get involved in like those day-to-day things, but I do like to sort of track the conversation and know where the appropriate places to interject are. So if you have a little more info, because I missed last meeting, that would be great.
Sure. So what I had shared at last meeting was that at the beginning of this year, we hired a consultant to look at our parastructures and systems and how the whole operation in that respect works, and make recommendations as to how we can improve, because it hasn't been looked at in a very long time, and for a number of years it had been an intention of mine to do exactly this, and get with everybody and say, hey, what's not working, what is working, and things like that. So we talked to we talked to HR, we talked to principals, we talked to everybody we could find, our consultant did, and got a sense of the current operations and a sense of what the points of frustration for people and things like that, and made a number of recommendations. And we've submitted those recommendations now to our executive cabinet and HR. And my understanding is that we're scheduling a meeting to discuss and plan according to those, or in consideration of those, for where we go from here. And I believe that meeting is coming soon. That meeting is going to be with HR and our department and all like that, in order to see what we can do potentially according to those suggestions immediately. What's the low-hanging fruit, things like that, and then what are going to be longer-term projects, and what resources do we need, and all of those things.
Okay, and sorry, just to clarify, did the consultant meet with families as well, or was it just with staff?
It was just with staff at this time, because the input from SEDAC was shared, and that type of thing, and incorporated into the conversations. But it's a lot of the frustrations on both sides were identical. So it didn't, and it's kind of stuff we already knew, and it's just by virtue of what's happened over the last 4 years that we really, rather than waiting then for us to get back on our feet and find time to look at it, we just brought someone in to help us move forward more quickly with it. Any questions on leadership change? Rachel, did I see a hand, or were you?
Okay. Yeah, it was a follow-up to what Sabrina was asking. It was just a clarification because I was typing and I missed in my notes. So I think you said that, and I know it had been brought up before in previous meetings, that one of the requests of a lot of parents would be to have a meeting with the teacher and the para prior to the first day of school. And that was something that you were working on trying to make happen. I think that's what you said, but I'm just asking to clarify.
Yeah, that's what I said. And that's
okay.
That's part of the discussion is, can we schedule with those things in mind so that the flexibility is there? Because again, like we talked about last time, and for you, Sabrina, one of the main issues with that is just how our paraprofessionals are scheduled. If they're scheduled bell to bell, then there's not a lot of flexibility built into the scheduling, which is not insurmountable, but it's not as efficient as it could be. So that's part of the discussion is, can we facilitate those? And we are looking now at planning and overhauling and redesigning and reimagining district-wide systems. So we're not looking class to class or school to school or individual to individual. So that takes a little bit more broader planning and a little bit more time to look at how we can do it. Because I really wouldn't want things to come out like, yeah, hey, we got it, but this school's doing it one way, that school's doing it another, and then the parents are confused because we have kids in multiple schools, or we're matriculating school to school, or what have you. That's not going to be helpful. So that's the lens that we're looking at it through.
I appreciate that. I just want to say I think that would be a fantastic idea to start the year off with everyone communicating together. I want to just throw it out there, although this might be more complex, to consider encouraging teachers to also include paras at the parent-teacher conferences, where case managers are there to present the progress on goals, because a lot of those goals are assessed with data provided by those paras, and it might make those meetings much more efficient for the parents to be able to ask questions of all the people that are directly involved, rather than the case manager saying, oh, I don't know that. Let me go back and talk with the para, and I'll get back with you in a week or 2 weeks or whenever that might be. I don't think they're typically involved in those meetings, but I would encourage it coming from top down to have those people present. I just think it would be a much better way for everyone to be on the same page. Thanks.
Yeah, and you sparked in me a point of training that sounds like we may need, is that we shouldn't be coming to meetings and saying, oh, I didn't talk to the para or get any information on that as the case manager. We should be, coming in and saying, having already, brought all those things into the consideration and discussion and be informed in order to speak that way. So thanks for bringing that up. Dora, your hand is up.
Hi, good morning. No, Rachel literally said what I was going to say. My son is transitioning to high school this year, and, we had to schedule the transition IEP. And I did ask those questions, am I going to be able to meet the new teacher, the paras in his classroom, because it's really important for some kiddos to and I can start telling him, your teacher, his name is Mr. Marcus, and just start telling him this is who it is, and these are the people that are going to be helping you. And so I really think that kind of stuff could be scheduled in the IEP and the IEP transition, because you guys are already scheduling all that with the people. And I'm pretty sure if you were to include the paras and tell them, are you available this time, they would want to be there to be able to talk more, and then they'll get paid for that too. So even if it's outside of their hourly of their day, I could bet you money that they would be able to do that. And we could schedule in a way that maybe they go first, or maybe they stay the whole meeting, depending on each kiddo and what their needs are and their questions are. A lot of times, for my son, when we have IEPs, the nurse goes first and then they leave.
Mm-hmm.
And the gen teacher, sometimes they have to be excused and they go first and they leave. So why couldn't we do that with a para that is in the classroom the same amount of time that their teacher is, or sometimes are there more if let's say that teacher is absent. But she literally said exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, those are definitely ideal, and I certainly don't disagree with that. There's logistical considerations, of course, as we talked about the scheduling, and if we also don't want to be taking paras away from the classroom and things like that during IEP meetings when other people are there. So it's a scheduling thing. It's a logistical thing. It's not for a lack of thinking it's a good idea or anything like that. Just things to consider. Sabrina.
Marcus, so I've a question and then a comment. Sorry. First question was, I had a chance to visit Erin Beer's class a week and a half ago, which is a medically fragile class. And I asked how often parents come in to see the work that they're doing and the tools that they're using to help our students progress. And she said she hadn't had any parents visit this year, which made me not only sad, but also kind of wonder, are we intentionally inviting families in during parent-teacher conferences or other opportunities to see the tools that we're using so they know how to support that at home? And then if you want to answer, then I'll make my comment after that.
Okay. I don't know exactly what type of outreach is being done in terms of inviting parents across schools, across classes, across the district, but there's certainly no prohibition on it. And the only thing that came to my mind was, we started out the year with, COVID visitation rules and all that sort of thing. And they changed from time to time over the course of the year. And I don't know if people thought they weren't allowed. I don't know, Sabrina, I can only speculate on that. But we do have a mechanism for families, their parents, to be able to see classrooms in special ed and gen ed. They can visit campuses and things like that. So what we can do is encourage folks to make that known and have their open door policies and have people schedule times to come and see. But I agree with you. It's important because we can sit here and I can present on things all day long. We can talk about all things all day long, but being able to get to see it is far more meaningful than anything I could drone on and on about in one of these meetings. So appreciate that.
Great, thanks. And now the comment, because unfortunately my other meeting is starting and I'll have to leave. But I just wanted to say, Marcus, I have absolutely appreciated your leadership. You are so committed to students, and I know we have a lot of room to grow as a district in this area, but when I think about where we were and where you have taken us, especially during the last few years, I'm immensely grateful. I know this is a passion for you, and it's something that you do not just because it's your job, but because it's something you genuinely care about and are committed to. And the conversations that we have and the way that you have brought parents in is leaps and bounds forward from where we were. So thank you. I'm sad you're leaving, but I do absolutely wish you well. And I know you'll continue to do great things.
Well, I appreciate that, Sabrina. And I know that you speak on behalf of more than just yourself, and that really means a lot to me. So I thank you. And I think I can speak on behalf of the committee that we are so grateful for the support of you and the board in our efforts here too. And we really appreciate having had you participate in our meetings when you can. So thank you. Leslie?
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm sorry, I just wanted to comment on what Sabrina had mentioned because I am scheduled for an IEP, and I think it's important that when we are transitioning from a COVID experience and things have opened up, I don't think that that's being communicated to parents. I will tell you that it's not being communicated to parents, and that we need to kind of, if the schools are going back to pre-COVID, agendas where people are invited, they need to parents, schools and the teachers need to be communicating that with parents when they're sending invitations, especially for IEPs. I received my IEP invitation and it was automatically scheduled for a Zoom. And so I think that it's not only necessary for the school to communicate, for the district to communicate to the school, but then the school to make sure that teachers understand, hey, there is options now. Now you got to remember to go back to before all of this and say, let us inquire with parents, what would you like to do? Because the teachers are automatically reverting to a Zoom. And so I had to inquire and say, I noticed this is Zoom. Are we still not allowed on campus? I've never had an in-person IEP at this school location since we've started. And so is it available? And the right answer was yes, absolutely, it's available. So, but I don't think I should have to ask that. And I also don't think that everybody's going to think to ask that. They're going to think Zoom is the only option. So if you guys could please remind teachers, because I may be aggressive enough to ask, but not everyone will. And I think that needs to be communicated.
Yeah, thanks for letting me know. We messaged that throughout the year that IEPs can remain on Zoom. They don't have to. If a parent wants to come and do it in person, or any other team member thinks it's needed to be done in person, then we'll make arrangements for that. So thanks for letting me know, and we'll keep that messaging alive.
Especially the case managers, at least, the case managers at that school needs to be aware that when you're scheduling such an important meeting, not just back to school, or do you want to come in and see what's happening, an IEP, they should be offering an option.
Yeah, no, I agree. Thank you. Kim?
Hi. I just wanted to follow up on the same subject as well, and just add a little caveat to that. Not only should parents be allowed to come in for the Zoom, for the IEP meetings, and also to their children's classrooms, whether it be for parent-teacher conference or to see what's going on so that they can be consistent at home with the same strategies, right? But I also think, too, that as a lot of parents are already talking about their kids either switching schools or transitioning to between elementary to middle school, et cetera, that the opportunity for parents to go to a campus in advance of placement should be an option as well for a tour, et cetera. And I don't know if that's available on every campus, but maybe when you're putting out this flyer or putting out the word, you can mention that as well.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Crystal.
Hi. So first of all, I'm so grateful for this platform. Thank you guys so much for including the EIC. And I'm so grateful to be able to represent that for these little kiddos. I do kind of want to follow up on that too with a comment because let me put my video. Because I will say, I know with COVID, things have been different, but I'll be completely honest. I am, my little one's 3. And at the end of the day, I can't ask him, how was your day? What did you do? He has a hard time communicating, things like that. So I end up talking with Leah, just a second, honey. Mommy's in a meeting. I end up, talking to the teacher, and, the teacher's wonderful, and he tells me everything at the end of the day. But I have asked a few times if I can go and see what goes on, or if I can, volunteer. And, I've talked to the program coordinator, and I've been told, things are kind of in limbo because of COVID. So I've still yet to see what he does every day. And it kind of breaks my heart. But knowing that now I can, I just don't know who I need to talk to or what I need to do to be able to schedule something so I can go and see what he does in the day. Right? Like, do I need to talk to someone above the teacher, or because maybe they don't even know that it's allowed now?
No, that's what I'm hearing is, we all know that over the past 3 years, the rules seem to have changed almost daily. So it's
right.
Our teachers are in there doing school, and they're not always up to speed on all of the millions of emails that come out about this week it's this way, and that week it's that way, and the whole thing. So yes, the person to talk to is the program coordinator. If she's not clear on it, she can talk to me and things like that. But rather than the telephone game, what I'm hearing is that we need to revisit, where we are, what's the status of these items. So before I commit everybody to this, I will check in with our risk management person and our health and nursing coordinator to ensure that we're aligned and nothing's changed and things like that. And then we'll do a broad update to folks so that everybody can be on the same page, rather than, hey, I heard and they're doing it this way over there kind of thing. So if you'll give me a little bit of time to get through that part of it, we can get this back on track, I think.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for listening and for hearing me. And I really appreciate you. So thank you.
Thank you. Rachel?
Hi, real quick. I just want to say, I think and I meant to say this earlier in my comment, but I think this is the first time that I've heard this year that an outside consultant was hired to assess the paras. I feel like all year long, from like the meeting we had in August to now, it comes up every time. And I just want to thank you and the district for making that happen. I don't know if maybe I've missed that all along, that this process was going on behind the scenes. And I'll be honest, I know tons of stuff happens behind the scenes that we're not aware of. And sometimes you can't reveal that process until after the fact. And if that's the case, I in my own mind had been trying to process why this is, I'm still new to this. This is my first year in the SEDAC, but it seems like it's just been this ongoing thing. And I am really excited and optimistic to see how whatever recommendations came out of that assessment, to see, how whoever takes over and the new team kind of moves those things forward. So I just wanted to acknowledge that, because if it had been mentioned before, I somehow had missed it. And so thank you. I think that's, from families, that seems to be like the number one point of contention, I think, with a lot of, at least within the SEDAC. So I'm excited to see the changes that come of that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And you're right. Everybody on here who is part of the district team yeah, billions of things cooking all at once. And so it's sometimes when we get to these meetings and start talking about stuff, it's hard to capture everything. I know I talked about it at the last meeting, but we also know that I have been unable to attend for a couple of meetings. So a period of time did go by before you were able to hear about that. And apologies for that. But yes, we did that. And as I mentioned a few moments ago, it's something that I wanted to do at least by my second year in Ventura because I hadn't noticed it. But then, the COVID cliff, we all went over that, and we're just getting back in shape. So we're catching up on some stuff. That's one of the priority items, and we're looking forward to seeing what we can do with it. Laura?
Do we know when we will be updated on any of that? I know there's a meeting that's going to happen and all that, but will it be maybe at the first of the year, or when can we expect to kind of hear?
Yeah, I would assume or presume or prognosticate, whatever you want to say, that at the opening SEDAC, that's something that could be added to the agenda and updated on. And that I'll make a note and communicate that to whomever is coming in behind me, that not only that, but we also want to know where we are with the learning recovery plan by that stage. And we want to have, these rolling updates on things. And then, as I said at the last meeting, those are things that now finally we can get to our summer project, which they weren't supposed to be summer projects, but they've turned into summer projects, of putting those things together so that then we can provide you with more information as we meet going forward. I'm still saying we. I don't know if I'll ever stop. It's we for now. It's we until June 30th. So we'll keep that going. All right. Any other questions or thoughts on anything so far? A couple other questions here, and then we can talk about some other stuff. Okay. Someone would like to know an overview of what the committee has accomplished this year. And so we managed to bring a lot of information and awareness to our community over the course of this year at our monthly meetings in the areas of behavior and mental health resources and supports, how the whole special education and IEP process works and why it is the way it is, and some, ongoing, but some clarity surrounding the role of the paraprofessional, and then also some transition planning for after school is complete. And those were in the forms of presentations and guest speakers and information like that. All of that stuff is up on our SEDAC section of our brand new and improved. I guess it's not improved because it's completely brand new. So our website, that if you haven't visited it yet, I encourage you to do so. And our special education department part of that, our page, is developing rapidly. We're working really quickly to get that up and make it meaningful to folks. So all the things that we talked about, the PowerPoint presentations, the YouTube links, all that sort of thing is up there. And I don't think our YouTube videos go away, at least not anytime, not very quickly. So if anyone wants to look back on the conversation and things like that, that's all there on YouTube. And, the way I envision it is, I want to know about this. I go check out, see what's on the SEDAC. I see the PowerPoints or whatever it is, but I also want to hear the conversation. So, matching that date with the date on the YouTube thing. And the beauty of YouTube after the fact is you can speed it up and fast forward and things like that. So you can get right to where you want to, the parts you want to talk about or you want to learn about. Okay, so sorry. And then our last question is about Lemon Grove. There is a great program at Lemon Grove that is K-8. Why is that only for Gen Ed and not SPED? Seems like a type of discrimination, especially when you have two siblings together and one has to leave at 5th grade because they are quote unquote special ed. So first and most importantly, it's not only for Gen Ed students. There are students with IEPs attending Lemon Grove from kindergarten all the way through 8th grade. And the issue is, though, that sometimes, however, if a student is in need of a more intensive support program, they may need to receive those services at one of our campuses where those services are available. And the way it works is that, by law, IDEA says that each public school district has to make a continuum of services available within the district to students who need them by virtue of their IEPs, their individualized needs. But it's not stipulated that a district has to make available or make those programs available at each and every school within the district. And it's set up that way because this is federal law, right? This is national stuff. It's not just Ventura. It's not just Ventura County. It's not just California. And so it's set up that way because districts across the country, they're each one is different, right? And they have different resources to work with and different structures and different local laws and things like that. And if it were set up to where, the standard is for the entire country that you have to replicate the programs at every single school, it could put some of those districts at risk of being unable to comply with the IDEA through no fault of their own. It's just by virtue of what they have to be able to make available. Some districts are tiny, very, very small, and don't have a lot to work with. And others are huge, like New York and Los Angeles and things like that, and have, a lot of resources and things like that. So is it ideal? No. Is it perfect? No. We know it's not a perfect system, but that doesn't mean that Ventura is doing something wrong. I would love for Ventura to be able to replicate all programs at all schools because, it would mean it would, address the intention of this question for sure, but it would be very meaningful to our communities and things like that. But it's not currently possible. And at the end of the day, the district is absolutely required to get each student what they need so that they can get an education. That's kind of why it's set up that way. But looking to the future, I know the desire of the community is to have more K-8 options, and the desires to have more services and things like that. So Ventura is going that direction with the K-8 model. We already have Sunset, we already have Lemon Grove, and then we have Atlas coming online and things like that. So these are the types of conversations in the design and development phase to, how can we do this other dimension better? So, but anyway, so that's the answer to Lemon Grove. I hate for people to think that there's any kind of intention that, if a student has an IEP, they cannot go somewhere. And that's just not true, and it's not the case. And we're continuing to work on it. K-8s are new for Ventura, and as with everything new, we continue to it's an iterative process sometimes, and continue to build and develop and make it better and better. So, any questions or comments on that one? Okay. All right, so those are our questions. What we have next on our agenda is an overview of Department of Rehabilitation and the VUSD Transition Partnership Program. We met Amy last time, and we were a little short on time, so Amy gave us a crash course overview of the whole thing, but everybody wanted to bring Amy back to hear more, so Amy is back, and Amy, let's hear more. Take it away.
Okay, first of all, does anybody have any questions?
About what we talked about last time.
About what we talked about last time, right. About TPP, about how your student would become involved in TPP.
How would my student be involved in TPP?
Okay, great question. Okay, so the student must be 16 years old. The student should be interested in learning about skills that they could develop to eventually look for a job. They don't have to be eager to look for a job at this point. We could bring them in as potentially eligible, and we could start giving them some of those services. We could start doing career interest surveys with them. We could start encouraging them to, their self-advocacy skills, to improve the self-advocacy skills. If they don't already know how to ride the bus, we can help them with mobility training. So we could just do the basic things that would encourage them eventually to get out there and look for a job. If they meet all of the Department of Rehabilitation's expectations, and when we triage students, we have our Department of Rehab counselor come in, and we have the teachers from the different school sites. They bring initials to these meetings. And so they would talk about your students' strengths, good attendance, because we do have paid internships and students need to be able to qualify for a work permit. They should have at least a 2.0. They would also need to, be close to being work ready. Okay. And so we would say, yeah, let's bring, Amy Cabral in to our VR, our voc rehab. But so we have two different ways we could serve your student. Our voc rehab program is our internships, which are out in the community with a teacher. So we have Crown Plaza, and where the students learn, of course, about the hotels, about the laundry, and about the kitchen, about the front desk, and about sales, and about maintenance. So all really good areas. And I will point out, too, that Crown Plaza hires our students. So, they're getting on-the-job training, and they're able to be seen by, employers, and they say, we want to hire them. We also have the mall internship, and we currently have Old Navy and Rags and a restaurant, Chili Feast, Philly cheesesteak. And so our students get a little bit more of the retail experience. And again, they are hired there at the mall. We have students who work a month, she worked a month, and they hired her right away. They saw that she had those skills that they wanted to see represented in their store. So the mentors are amazing. Our kids are learning from good mentors that's what they do. That's their livelihood. I'm not real familiar with retail. I can't tell students how to censor clothing, and I can't tell them a whole lot about maybe customer service, where these mentors are right there helping your students to learn firsthand so that they can get that experience, and so they can be out in the community where they belong.
So I have another question. So does this include just like the you said 2.0? So like for my student, he is in the Montessori program and he's in the unique curriculum, so he doesn't have like a GPA. Right. So is there different programs for kiddos that maybe need more support, or is it just kind of more for the mainstreamed kiddos with IEPs?
No, as Marcus kept suggesting that we include the moderate to severe, which I will proudly say that my youngest daughter is a moderate to severe teacher at Buena. And so sometimes we're together and we're putting our heads together, trying to figure out how we can incorporate more moderate to severe students. We can certainly start with, the student services, like as it relates to interview skills and how it relates to their career interest survey and such. And really what my dream would be to have paid internships on campus. Pre-pandemic, Felicia had students in the cafeteria. And I'd like to see that return and have these students be paid employees of the district, temporary employees of the district. So then the kids would be getting that hands-on experience. So no, that's down the road. And I hope that whoever comes in after Marcus, I hope that they feel as strongly as Marcus did about that.
Yeah, that's something that we're still pushing forward on. And of course, everything is sidelined. But, we made a lot of progress in our first year, Amy, because prior to that, we didn't provide paid opportunities, but we managed to convert the program to paid opportunities because nothing is more based in realia of instruction than when there's money on the line, when there's a paycheck. And, it added a much larger dimension to where, kiddos had to make an appointment with HR and come in and have an interview and be processed and go through that process too, which was you can practice that in a classroom, but, it's harder to generalize rather than when you're really doing it. So a little bit off topic, but yes, the other part of it was, expansion of the program to include all students as much as we can. And the adding the work experience opportunities on campus, but not necessarily just on campus. We start with on campus because it's a familiar community, right? It's easier to access, than radiate out from there. But also, we've approached facilities and things like that, and everybody's totally on board to start providing these opportunities, and then further radiate that out into the community with, Amy's. I can never find her. She's always out there pounding the pavement and knocking on doors, getting business folks in the community to get on board with this thing. So those are just examples of our, our commitment to that intention of making those things available. So there are opportunities and more to come, I guess, is a short way to say that.
And I will add that I have had parents approach me, and their student is in the program, and they say, I have this business that I know of where my daughter really likes to go, or my son really likes to go, and I'm sure they would, be interested in becoming a mentor. So, if it's something specific that you can think of for your student, then by all means, I would go and I would approach them for your student if you can think of someplace that you would like your student to work. Okay. So as Mark.
I'm sorry, Laura's got a hand. I think she's, and then Dora too. Do you have another question, Dora? All right, well, let's have Laura go and then we'll come back.
I was just curious, Amy, when you're out there, are you finding companies? Do you feel like there's more kids who need a place to work versus companies offering a place to work?
Absolutely. Because unfortunately, anything that, with a corporation, they have to go back and they have to ask permission. And it kind of loses in the transition and the translation, because the picture that I paint is that the district takes full responsibility. We do a memorandum of understanding, and that also, releases them. The certificate of liability is issued to the business. Also, when the students become temporary employees of the district, then the district is taking full responsibility. So it's mostly the mom and pops. And yes, I wish we had a lot more places to take our kids. That's the big downfall.
Yeah,
so,
commerce.
We all need to support this. We all need to do our job.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Broadly speaking, commerce in Southern California in all communities is largely corporatized, right? So, those corporations aren't based in Southern California, but, and also, so they're very bureaucratic and very multi-layered and, wrapped up in a lot of red tape. I often wonder if they have a department just devoted to generating red tape, like the actual physical tape, because there's so much. And it's been, I did Amy's job in another life, and it was my experience too, that things started to really dry up when, the corporations moved in. Nothing against corporations. We've had a lot of success with a lot of folks, but I'm just saying that there's that added layer now to where it's making it harder, because in California, liability insurance is everything, and it's hard for folks. They intellectually understand that, all you're getting is a great opportunity to change a kid's life. You're not responsible beyond that. We expect you to help us provide those opportunities. But as Amy said, the kids are employed by Ventura Unified. They get a paycheck that looks the same as mine and Amy's and Dora's, and all, says those same things on it. We indemnify the kids against any kind of liability or anything like that, so there's really no downside other than this specter of worry that folks are going to be held liable for something. So we're working really hard to overcome that. We have some ideas to, we've been in talks with the State Department of how can they help us just build a pool. Like they've already done that legwork, build us a pool of corporations that are on board and, give us the directory and we'll go. And so and they're open to that. It's just, again, takes some time. So sorry, I didn't mean to take over the conversation.
That's right.
Dora, then
I just wanted to mention, I had asked before, not here, but when they were introducing that, I don't know what it's called, the career tech class that classes that they introduced, I think a year or two ago at Buena High School, like, because they have the cooking stuff, I think hospitality and all kinds of stuff, like to help prepare kiddos that either are going to go like straight to work from high school, like, or they want maybe like a trade, not maybe not the college route, and how that would include, you know, the different programs that are on the campus. And I mean, it doesn't. So I think that would be a really good place for it to start if they haven't already done it. Because it's a little scary knowing that, you know, in 4 years, my kiddo will be 18, and it's just like, well, is he just going to go straight to Social Security? And if that's what it is, and that's what it is, but I feel like every kid should have that opportunity to either to have some sort of job and be able to contribute to society the best they can, and if they're not able to get a paycheck, then they could be a really good volunteer, but their life should have purpose in doing whatever that they like. You know what I mean? And I really feel like that is our job as a district, to give that opportunity to all the kids. You know what I mean? I've been preparing for this. It was like, since my kid was little, like, okay, one day he's going to be an adult, and it's like super close now. And it's a very scary place to be in. But hopefully it'll be all okay. I'm excited to work with Amy in the next few years and hope and see the changes. And that's it. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah,
absolutely.
My oldest is starting high school next year, and I finally just I had to sit her down and say, look, at this this growing up thing it's not working for me. It's completely unacceptable. We're gonna need to put a stop to it. Yes,
I'd like to say,
Dora, I just want to say real quick, Amy, and you probably are thinking the same thing, that, you know, if a student doesn't participate in TPP, that does not mean that they're not eligible to take advantage of DOR services and regional center services or anything like that after high school. So don't think that it's all or nothing on this TPP thing, but we can talk more about that. Linda has a hand, and then I want to get back to Amy. Sorry.
All right. Hi, guys. As a small business owner myself, I can greatly attest to the fact that the state of California and the amount of taxes and the amount of hoops that we have to go through to have an employee, even if it's just one employee, it's a joke. It's so bad. So having a program like what Amy has, where, you know, all of that pressure of having the liability and stuff like that has been taken away from us, it makes it much more appealing to be able to do, and much more appealing to get involved with. With that being said, Amy, please get a hold of me.
I will, Linda.
Not only do we have the vending business, but I also do a lot of things. I'm on the board over at Montalvo Little League. I'm an assistant coach over at AYSO. I do cooking, catering events on the side that sometimes I need just random help with. There's a lot of things that I've got connections with, especially the type of business that I have. I have a lot of local business contacts also. Some of them would be able to look into this program with you, and some of them it's just not feasible. So yeah, I think it's amazing, because I have always sat back and thought, well, what is my kid gonna do? You know, and my husband's like, oh, she'll drive around in the truck with me all day. And I'm like, okay, you know, so having these options and stuff like that is amazing. So I really appreciate that.
I love what I do.
I'm sure you do.
So I was wondering, is Sabrina still on, or does I see her pop in and out. I should have mentioned when Sabrina was on that when we had our internship at the medical center, that was a wonderful experience for our students, and a lot of the students would love to return. I did talk to risk management, and if the BCMC was open to us returning, that's something that we could explore. I'm going to need some help with that connection with Dr. Lambing, because it's just, she doesn't understand that we don't want to be into the medical area so much. Our kids really enjoy like working in all the worker bee places, in maintenance, in the cafeteria, in central supply, you know, that type of thing. So if Sabrina watches this later on, maybe she'll reach out. But yes, absolutely. We want to reach out to every single, student when they're 16. That would be the hope. You are also able to request that Department of Rehab attend your students' IEPs when they, are juniors and seniors, so that you can get that connection. If your students try counties, we should try and get them scooted into Department of Rehab soon, sooner than later, so that when they do graduate, they pair up with tri-counties to get your kids in some supported employments if that's the way they need to go. So by coming into the potentially eligible program their senior year, that would be something that we could assist with, making sure that Department of Rehab's attending the IEPs, making sure that the Department of Rehab paperwork is being completed so that your students don't miss a beat once they graduate. And I can't really speak a whole lot about Department of Rehab other than our contract. Our program is guided by, all the rules and regulations of Department of Rehab and who we bring in and who we don't bring in. And like I said, the Department of Rehab counselor does sit in on our triage. Sometimes we override her when she says she doesn't feel a student is appropriate, because she doesn't really know the student as the teachers, referring teachers do. So
I think what we'll try to do for the fall, we tried to do it this year, but things didn't work out. But for the fall, we'll try to get a representative from DOR to come and talk to us about the particulars of that, because it's been a long-standing relationship, not just in Ventura with the Department of Rehabilitation, but when I worked in Los Angeles and things like that as well, and all over the county, all over the state. But it continues to be a little known option for kids. And so I've devoted a lot of my career to raising awareness in that respect. And what we've done just a moment ago when Amy said that you can request to have a DOR person at your kiddos, junior or senior IEPs, take that and run with it, because, and then also going, participating, when the transition fairs come up and things like that. And we actually had to cancel ours because of COVID, but for the first time in Ventura history in 2020, scheduled for March, we were going to have our own in-district transition fair for our families and our kids. But, then, so hopefully we can bring that back too and have DOR be a part of that and all those things. So Kim and then Laura.
Yeah, hi. I just have a couple of questions for you, Amy. Well, actually, I think you just answered one of them, Marcus. Start reaching out when they're maybe a sophomore, something like that is what you're saying?
Yeah.
To sort of establish a relationship and start having you attend maybe IEPs later in high school.
Yeah, so it wouldn't. I have been invited to IEPs, and like I said, I don't speak a lot about Department of Rehab. I will speak about TPP, but I can also, bridge that gap and connect people with Department of Rehab.
And one other question for you, or it's more of a comment, and it's I think some of the other moms might be thinking this sometimes. When you mentioned a little while ago, some of our kiddos do better at like maintenance, et cetera. I have to say, and this is not easy to say, but sometimes I think about, I have a more of a social child, and I often think, not that there's anything wrong with cleaning toilets because someone's got to do it, but I think he'll be better served doing something socially, with customers or something like that. And I just wonder how much time and attention gets put on the fact that maybe not all of our kids need to end up, mopping floors or something like that.
Right.
And so that's like from a mother's standpoint, sometimes you want to think about their future being more social, and if they're capable of that. And but you do definitely want them to have, a purpose and a career if that's how things are progress for them. So I just wonder, it's kind of a sensitive topic in a way.
Right. So I was speaking about Ventura County Medical Center and the areas that they allow our students to work in. It's not, when we do the career interest surveys, we certainly take all that into account and we help the students explore different options. The retail, we tell them about customer service.
Right.
We work on soft skills, we work on, having eye contact with us and, their conversations that they have with us. We speak to them. We don't speak above them. So it's really nice to see their personalities come out. It's really nice to, get to know them throughout our meetings. Our students work at the front desk at the Crown Plaza. And so, if, your son sounds like somebody who would do well there. And again, Crown Plaza has hired our students. We have 2 students currently that have been front desk for a couple of years at Crown Plaza. So we encourage anything and everything. We encourage college. We've been on the college tours with the students when they visit. We encourage VACE, if that's something that they're into, if it's technology or back office, front office. So we encourage whatever, individualized for each student.
Okay, thank you. And I know, Marcus, we haven't had the program since COVID, but when are our children allowed to participate in the campus programs, where I think some of them were participating, working in the libraries, working in the cafeteria, et cetera? At what age are they allowed to do that?
That's the same junior and senior age. Yeah, it's all part of the same construct.
When they're 16 or 15, or depends.
I think it's 16. Is that right, Amy?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. So let's do Laura, then Jenna.
So I was just thinking about my last PAC meeting, and we visited the ranch, and that's VUSD, right? So I just started to think about all the things that the kiddos can do over there. And in the next coming years, it's supposed to be, totally self-sustained. So there'll be retail and, everything involved in that. So I think, I don't know if you already have that partnered up, but I think the ranch out at Pacific is going to be an excellent place for these students as well.
Yeah,
Laura, I'm happy that you mentioned that. I actually have a 1:30 appointment today with Mike to, see what we can get going there. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm getting goosebumps.
Yeah.
We've already been working on that. In a second, I don't know if I've talked about this before, but I have been in special education my entire life. Not to make it about me, but I just want to share this story, is that I grew up as a child of special educators. And I remember working with my mom at Canoga Park High School out there in the valley when they had the farm, and working with the classes and kids and doing that sort of thing. So when the farm was starting to come online, it's very exciting. Now the Canoga farm had animals, but I don't think we're going to have animals at this point. So yes, already on the radar, we started working on pushing in on that all the way back at the beginning of the year. And just recently, Nick went over and did a whole presentation on what it means to have an IEP and what it means to have a disability, and how, the teachers or the CTE folks can learn to incorporate and support and things like that. And so that's definitely on that. And we're working on staffing the farm with folks who have experience in working with students with additional considerations, so that we can make sure that we're providing full access to all students. And then Amy's got her meeting today. So, Jenna?
Hi, I just wanted to throw out there also, I'm on the board for, I don't know if you guys have heard Industry Horror downtown Ventura.
Yes.
I just wanted to let you know they work with Regional Center and stuff as well, and they have 100% success rate of hiring individuals with special needs and autism. It's a really small local business, but we're always looking for new employees and stuff, and they work really well with them. And Regional Center will pay their internship to start there, and then they hire them after. So just so you guys know, it's a good idea to keep in your mind.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thanks. Rachel?
I just want to tack on to Laura, since I was at the PAC meeting with her, and one of the things that did come up, even though this would probably be in our PAC report, but we're talking about it now, is that we did ask how they were planning to include SPED kids in those programs. And we were told at that meeting that they're planning to have a TOSCA, a teacher on special assignment, who will be specifically tasked with including SPED kids throughout the district. So I just wanted to share that with the other families, that they already had that on the radar, probably because Marcus already, made that a point, but that was communicated to all of the parents earlier this month at that meeting. And although it won't be a traditional farm, there will be tilapia, which is an animal.
Oh, that's right.
And I did ask if they were going to have bees. And Mike did say that was not initially part of the plan, but long-term, that they're going to look at that. There's some liability issues if, I guess, kids have bee allergies. But as a veterinarian, those are like my first two questions. So hopefully they will have them down the road, since there are kids that are interested in animals. Those are considered part of a working farm. So that could be something that our kids could get involved with too, even though they're not like traditional farm animals.
Yeah, that's great. And so I said there were no animals. I said corrected. Thank you. And
sorry.
to the TOSA position, yes, that we last August, not this August, but the August before, I managed to help create a special education TOSA position. And with the way things went this year, we just weren't able to get anybody. So, but we were able to keep that TOSA position going. We will have someone, and you're correct. That will be part of that person's job. And that also is a demonstration of your learning recovery dollars at work, because that TOSA position is being funded with that, specifically with that grant money. So great. All right. Anything else for Amy? Okay. Well, thank you as always, Amy. You're, as you know, one of my favorite people in the whole world, because we share a common passion, and I truly appreciate all of your hard work.
Thank you. And you look so much. I saw you walking the other day. I saw you walking out of the building, and I thought, he looks different. I couldn't put my finger on it. You look younger. You look more youthful. You look less
I thought you were going to say, it looks like he doesn't work for Ventura. What's he doing here? No, I'm still with you guys. Don't give up on me yet. Okay, so last time also we talked about the VASE paraeducator training course, and we wanted to learn more about that. We had asked Jackie to come and visit with us, but at the very last minute, she experienced a very unanticipated family issue and was unable to join us. However, as you may or may not know, sometimes we have guest presenters in that class, and one of our own program specialists, Ms. Carrie Newley, has presented and taught portions of the course a couple of times. So she's going to give us an overview of the class and then talk about her experiences with that program. With that course. So take it away, Carrie.
All right, thank you so much. Yes, I actually just was a guest speaker at the course earlier this week again, and I think it was my third or fourth time joining them. It's a really nice program, and Jackie could do a much better job of explaining everything she does with the course as she teaches it. But I have had the good fortune of speaking there, and I pulled up the resource for you from the VASE catalog. So I'm just going to share my screen so you can see that as well. All right, are you able to see that? All right, so right here, if this is the course catalog at for the Ventura County or the Ventura Adult and Continuing Education. And the class is actually called Volunteer Paraeducator Training. But what's really nice is it kind of is ongoing. So there aren't set dates when it starts. It's when they have a group of people interested in taking it, and it's completely free. It runs twice a week for 4 weeks. So it's fairly short, but you can see that it gives a lot of overviews about school procedures, about classroom management, safety and first aid, policies for students with special needs, the operation of school equipment, and career growth in Ventura Unified and job search skills. The class has been held in person traditionally. It's been at AP Foster Elementary School, which is where I first was a guest speaker there when I was assistant director. And during COVID, it moved to Zoom, as most other things did. And currently, now that we're in that transition, like we've talked about before, Jackie is running the class 1 day a week in person and 1 day a week on Zoom. So I was able to join them on one of their Zoom classes earlier this week. What I have really liked is Jackie's done this for a long time, and she really does focus on this. I've been able to bring a more in-depth look at special education during my visits to the class. I think my passion for special education really showed. I gave them the whole deep dive over the history of special education and the 13 areas of eligibility and the 14th that's only available for our preschool kids. And I really talked to them a lot about what an IEP is and how, as paraeducators, they absolutely should be familiar with what's in this students' IEPs. We talk about social skills. I love the fact that Jackie can chime in the middle of the class when I am guest speaking and say, oh, these are like the games that we talked about last time where you can be at recess or during choice times, and supporting those social skill developments and peer interactions during recess. We really talked about that a lot. When I brought up positive behavior support, Jackie had already addressed some positive behavior support strategies with them in a previous session, but I was able to go into it more in depth just from my experience in special education. So the current group is only about 8 or 10 people, but I've been in the class before, back pre-COVID, when there were about 20 people taking the class, and they all were very excited. And when I had the chance to then be part of the interview panels for paraeducators as assistant director, it was fun because a lot of people who had been through Jackie's class were sitting there in the interviews, hoping to work for Ventura Unified. And I always prime them while I'm there too, and I'm sure Jackie does too, that while you're taking this class, we're still looking for substitutes. It's also nice because we can share the fact that, Jackie was a paraeducator once upon a time in her career. And I share with them that my first job with Ventura Unified was as a substitute paraeducator a long time ago. And we do talk about that some of our paraeducators in Ventura Unified have been here for many years, and that's what they love to do, and that's what they want to continue doing. But we also talk about how many of our employees, it is a career growth opportunity to lead into other places, and it's an opportunity to introduce people to the world of education to see if they find another passion, like being a special education teacher, which some of the people taking this class are on the path to becoming a special education teacher. This past week, there was one who, when she found out my previous life was as a speech pathologist, wanted to know how could she go back to graduate school and become a speech pathologist. So it's a great training opportunity that is available for free through Adult Ed. And I think a lot of people don't know it's out there. So I would love to have this information shared really broadly. But it's a good entryway into special education. And it's just a great overall opportunity. One of the other things that I did share this time was a couple of other training opportunities that we can make available to our paraeducators once they're in our district. And I said, hey, these would be great things for your students to be already aware of, Jackie, so that they can start growing their skills even more prior to being hired. These were some things that when I was overseeing the paraeducators, I shared with them. So I'm going to share a couple more tabs so you can see what has been shared in past years with our paraeducators. These are called the AFFIRM modules, and they're autism-focused intervention resources and modules. These are free, and there's a lot of modules here. And you can see they're not short. They're 2 to 3 hours. So like, for example, during COVID closure, I would tell the paraeducators that if your student that you're assigned to is not on Zoom and doesn't need your support right now, your class is not on Zoom right now, here's a great thing for you to be working on. And our teachers, I think you probably have talked about it before, not our teachers, our paras, have the ability to earn professional growth time, which does help them get bonuses on their salary. So by completing modules in here and then completing or turning their certificates into human resources, they're able to get extra points toward earning extra dollars on their salary. But there's some great modules here, and I know a lot of our paraeducators have taken advantage of this. So I'm just kind of scroll down so you can see these are all autism based, but there's a lot of great things because we know that these are good teaching strategies for many of our students. So I love this. I love this training opportunity for them. And there's a lot of modules that they have the opportunity. So I used to share this very frequently with the paraeducators. And now Jackie, I sent this to Jackie. She's going to start sharing it with anybody who goes through her class. And then the other one that I did share with Jackie, and I shared with all the paraeducators back during closure, was this webinar series. This is one of the best para-training webinar series that I've seen. And I actually learned about it from Mary Samples, who used to be our SELPA director. And she said that and she's highly, highly well respected in the world of special education in California. She said this is one of the best training she's ever seen for paraeducators as well. So these were live webinars, but they're available all on recordings. So this was also something I shared during COVID closures with all of our paraeducators, and that now Jackie has access to share with any students who come through her class. So those are some great training things. But that VACE training, which is the primary one, it really is a nice short overview that I think really shows people the potential of how they can get involved in the lives of students with disabilities. And I think the people who are taking it are really showing a lot of passion. So it's fun to go meet with them and have that opportunity to do a deeper dive into what is special education, what are IEPs, and how can they support students academically, socially, behaviorally, et cetera. So that's just kind of a brief overview.
Thanks, Carrie. Laura has a question.
All right, my question was just if she feels that the curriculum could use any improvements, or can she be offered more support while she's going in and talking? I know it's a free class, but if there's anything that she feels, could improve the class.
Meaning Jackie, if anything, Jackie feels like there's anything she could use. I'm sure I don't want to speak on her behalf, but I know when she first asked me a few years ago to be a guest speaker, she keeps coming back because she said that was just a really valuable addition to her class. She and I have also talked about having Peter Gary, who's our board certified behavior analyst, come in as a guest speaker. I don't know that their schedules have meshed to the point where he's been able to do that, but I know that was something I suggested to her, to bring him on as a guest speaker as well. And I know she's, it's short, it's 8 days, but I think she's very interested in growing and going more in depth in the information she's able to share by bringing in other experts from within the district.
And we'll ask those questions too. Mm-hmm. What else do you need, Jackie? Mm-hmm. Okay. Any other questions for Carrie? All right. Well, thanks very much, and appreciate you doing everything that you do. Because, like we said before, this is one tiny thing that Carrie does. She out of the billions of other things she does every day. So we appreciate it. All right, on to committee reports, district updates. I want to quickly introduce you to Tiffany, who is part of our SPED office team. We have a new advent to the communication systems in VUSD called Peach Jar, and Tiffany's going to give us a quick overview of what that is and how it relates to everyone.
Thank you. So really quickly, just a couple minutes. Peach jar, it's new for us and we're super excited about that. I'm getting ready to share my screen here. Can everyone see that? Nope. Okay. And boom, we up. Okay, cool. So Ventura Unified School District is happy to partner with Peach Jar as a means to serve as a communication bridge between the community organizations and families. Peach Jar is a platform for communication where local communities and or local community organizations like Little League or the Boys and Girls Club or test prep providers can post advertisements for programs and events for our families. Using this platform allows parents to easily access important information and resources from their school and community. Utilizing Peach Jars enables us as a community to save countless resources, save those trees. Flyers from outside organizations will no longer be going home from the schools, but they will still be easily accessible and not lost or misplaced. That's a key right there. So everyone will be able to get them. To find Peach Jar, we're just going to our school, or Ventura Unified School District's homepage here. And it's right here. It's right there on the tab, and you just click on it. You'll be able to pull up all the flyers of anything that's going on through the community. If you want to, if you have an organization and you need to advertise something, it's super crazy easy, and I'm thrilled about that because I need things easy. You just go to the website again, and it's going to be venturausd.org/about/communications. That's going to come up, and you will be able to go right down here to communications, resources, community organization, and businesses Peach Jar ads. And what I love about this, bam, you've got step-by-step instructions on how you submit your applications for advertisements, and it's all right there. So if you have any questions, head on over to the website that was just redone, take a look at that, and it will have all the information you need. So that's it. Yay, Peach Jar.
Any questions for Tiffany? Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you.
All right. Anything to share from your individual sites? Some successes or some feedback? We talked a lot, a lot of this stuff gets covered in the course of conversation, but if there's anything else anyone would like to share, please feel free to unmute and do so.
Marcus?
Yes, hi, Carrie.
This is Carrie. This isn't related to school, but it was something I wanted to share for the people on here. For the summertime for kids and beyond, there's something that I came across. It's called adaptive fitness, and I know sometimes it's hard to get our kids to do physical activity. And I wish I had had this when my daughter was a little bit younger, but it's called Adaptive Fitness if you want to search it on Instagram. And it's a guy who does fitness for kids like ours, all sorts of kids. And I've been watching the videos and they look so great. And I'm trying to think, it's at a gym called Hit Sports, which is in Camarillo, but not the depths of Camarillo. I think it's off Central. And I just wanted to put that out there in case anybody is interested. And one of the moms who's a mom who's affiliated with the ownership, I believe, of the gym, has a little boy who works out there. So she's a big part of it too. So I just wanted to pass that on. And after hearing Tiffany talk, maybe it could be a Peach Jar situation. I could talk to the person who owns Adaptive Fitness. His name is Jordan Bricker, I believe. So I just wanted to pass that on.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Because I know physical activity is huge for all kids, but especially our kids, because it can be hard to get them to exercise.
Definitely. If whatever information you're able to share, send that over to Diana and we'll see what we can do. But if also too, as Tiffany just showed us, you can also bypass all of that and go right to Peach Jar with whatever you had. Laura, did you have something to add to that?
I was wondering if Amy would be interested in that contact as well.
Ah,
Sounds like a good place.
Great
Absolutely.
point. I'll talk to the gal who again is affiliated with the ownership of the gym and also has a son who is just like our kids. So yeah, I'll get in touch with you guys about it.
Thank you. I also
Great.
liked the connection with Carrie Newley and talking about the paraeducator course, because I see the value in that for some of our students to become paraeducators, and they know firsthand, about sitting in on the IEPs and so forth. So that might be a good transition for them, and be a paraeducator while they're going to school, college.
Yeah. Oh, great idea. Appreciate that. Thanks, Carrie. Well, and Carrie, both Carries. Thank you both. Okay. And anybody else for something site related? Okay. My teacher brain says count to 7 Mississippi. That's the rule for wait time. So. Okay. Okay. So our SELPA CAC representative report. Kim, do you have anything to share from any of the meetings?
Yeah, hi. So we had our last meeting on the 2nd, I think it was. And the elections were held for the new year coming up, and the budget was discussed a little bit for the 22-23 year. And so all of this information you can find on the SELPA website. There's links to everything I'm speaking of. September 20th is the next virtual inclusive conference, which if anybody attended the first one that was held a couple weeks back with Katie Novak and Shelley Moore, I thought it was interesting and educational. So there will be 4 or 5 of them in total. And so if you missed the last one, the next one is coming up in the fall. You can get that on the SELPA website as well. And I think that's it, really.
Great, thank you. Any questions for Kim? Okay, all right. We heard a little bit about our recent PAC meeting, but anything additional from Rachel or Laura you'd like to share?
I mean, I don't think I have too much more. We basically just spent, those couple hours out at the ranch and everything. So we covered it. Do you have anything else, Rachel?
I don't think so. It was really focused on the ranch and the programs. There was like a review of job transitions, and summer school was discussed. I know that actually wasn't brought up, but that they're only offering 4 weeks, and that had been a big source of contention, at least here. And I feel like Dr. Castro basically said it wasn't that they didn't want to offer, they just don't have personnel to offer it, is what it sounded like.
But they're still working on it.
They're still working on it. If they figure it out, it will be offered for 6 weeks. He did say that. But yeah, I think that's it. That's all I had. Most of it was about the ranch, which is why we had it there, I think.
Okay. Thanks, Kim. And?
I just had a quick question. I'm not sure who can answer it. I'm curious about the information about the ranch. Like, how can we keep up on what's happening with that? Because that sounds very exciting. And like, what is the date that what is the date on that it will be accessible, et cetera?
For this
this coming school year, it sounds like that's when they're trying to launch. It already is for the kids at Pacific High School. If you want, we can spend a few minutes, I guess, going over the stuff that we did learn. Like, it is open there is a class, an agribusiness class going on right now. And actually, the day after we were there, a group of kids from Anacapa were going to be going there. They had earned like a reward for something. They didn't say what they had done, but they were going to get to plant the last row of lemon trees. Okay, lemon trees, yeah. So they are having kids there, and Mike is the ranch manager, and he's there all the time. And he basically said as long as he's there, anyone is welcome to go in and walk around, but it's still a construction area, so you have to, be careful. But they're still finishing the greenhouse, and they haven't planted everything. I mean, there's still stuff in the works, and it sounded like the actual programs were still, like the curriculum were still being written. So the hope was that in the fall, schools will be able to go there. But Laura and I and a lot of the other parents asked, so like, how is it going to work? Like, how do teachers arrange for field trips? Like, how is that going to work? And really the only answer we got was that transportation or the cost of transportation was included in the budget for the ranch.
That's good.
And their long-term goal is that there's always kids there. So it's a constant cycle of kids there during the school day, and that they're going to offer programs after school, like for high school kids, and long-term summer camps they're going to offer there. Mm-hmm. They already have partnerships with Ventura College for culinary programs.
What is
the logistics are not panned out, and that's really what the parents brought up.
Where is it
from different perspectives?
What was that, Kim?
Where is it located?
Pacific High, right by the mall.
It's actually right by there. Okay.
It's on this, like they converted the fields, like what would have been the fields for that high school into the ranch. And I think it's close to 5 acres is what they said.
Mm-hmm.
Like the whole thing.
It's the only one in the nation of its kind, the way it functions. And it's going to be completely self-sustainable within 2 to 3 years.
Yeah. And they have partnerships with, I'm sorry if you can hear my dog barking in the background. They have partnerships with local agribusinesses, like Driscoll Farms is one that they mentioned, where they're going to already be teaching the kids and setting up internships. And so, Amy, I don't know if this is something that we can hop onto as well, because Mike's already, he is a 3rd-generation farmer, so he already had, I think, contact himself. So he wrote a grant too for technology. So they're including all this cool technology into the farm. Like they're getting some kind of fancy drone to fertilize the trees, and the aquaponic system, that's where the tilapia comes into play. That's a pretty advanced system. And so then everything they harvest, they already have community partners. So they're going to teach the kids how to sell the produce, market the farm, how to do a farm stand. And I think down the road, there was talk of maybe a food truck in partnership with Ventura College. So like growing it, determining, what the market wants, growing it, either selling it or turning it into consumable food. And so I think a lot of our kids could definitely, there's a lot of different areas that could of involvement, depending on what their interest was. And, but all of those logistics have not, it's a lot of really great ideas that I think they're still in the process of working through. So I'd encourage everyone here, if you have ideas, to bring them. There's a website, Kim, but there's not Mike's information on there, and he seems very open and approachable. So I would encourage you, if you have ideas, to reach out to him. I forget the name of the guy that's writing the curriculum. Marcus, do you know his name? I don't know. What was his? Do you remember his name? I have it. I didn't write it down.
Yeah, I don't know. He was there with us, right?
He was. and I know what he looks like, but I can't remember what his name was. But they are in the process of writing the curriculum. So if you have ideas, I would certainly reach out to the CT.
And this is A through G curriculum. So
yes,
that's another biggie there.
So this is like getting in on the ground floor almost to try and form, if you have suggestions. I think they're pretty open to it at this point because they're still working on that.
Thank you. It's great.
Yeah, it's really exciting. So thanks for that overview. Okay, so that was PAC. Our board representative unfortunately had to depart. I don't believe we received any public comment at this time. Is that correct, Ms. Montez? Nothing? Okay, she's shaking her finger at me. All right, anybody got any other community, county upcoming events they want to share? And if you do, later after the meeting, of course, we now know how to advertise those, so that's fantastic. Laura has a hand. Kim, I'm not sure if it's a new hand, but if it is, you're welcome to go after Laura.
Sorry. I just wanted to ask Amy, how can I give out her contact info? What's the best way for me to put people in contact with you?
She should be on the website, and if she's not, we're going to fix that.
I am. I'm on the website. I'm on the special ed website with my district phone number as well as my email address.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. And in light of the fact that Sabrina was unable to stay, we don't have any updates, but I would like to just let everybody know, if you didn't already, that our next board meeting is on Tuesday night at 7 o'clock, and it's streamed just like this is. So if you'd like to tune in and hear all of those updates that are broader and beyond our special education community, you're always welcome to do so. And that brings us to the end. So here we are, last meeting of the year, last meeting for me, not the last meeting for you all. I really hope that you all continue to participate and keep this thing going, because it's very meaningful and important to a lot of people. So with that, thank you all for being here with us. Thank you for giving us your time and your thoughts. And we want to wish you a very nice weekend. And so on behalf of myself and Amy and Carrie and Nick and Sabrina and the entirety of the Ventura Unified School District community, we appreciate you, and let's keep the conversation going. Take care, everybody.